Good day, everyone. You are welcome to Maths with Faik Online. The topics we are dealing with today is on quadratic equation. So as we all know that quadratic equation can be solved using various methods. Part of the methods is a graphical method, which involves plotting of graphs, then where the curve touches the x-axis as 0, will give us the value of our unknown. Then we can as well use factorization method. We can use completing the square method or formula method. But the one we are going to be dealing with now is completing the square method. I've posted this particular question on my Facebook page. So I would like to solve it using completing the square method. And I hope you will enjoy it. So stay tuned. Let's go. Now let's deal with the question. The question we have before us now is x squared plus 6x plus 5. So to solve this question using completing the square method, we all know that the general form of a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So from there, if you look at the question, you will observe that the coefficient of x squared in this particular question is 1. In case the coefficient is not 1 in some other questions, what you need to do is to divide through by the coefficient of x squared. Now let's go through this working example. So the step 1, write your equation in standard form. How do you write it in standard form? You write it in standard form using the standard form of quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. Because some question may be given such that the constant will be at the other side. So you must make sure that you first arrange the number to be in standard form. Now, you now divide through by the coefficient of a. Look at this. This is coefficient of a in this case is 1. I believe you all know what is meant by coefficient. So something beside x here is the coefficient. Coefficient deals with something that is beside this x. So this x has 1, an invisible 1 beside it. So that's why our a is equal to 1. Then the coefficient of x is 6. Then 5 is the constant. So like this is already in standard form because the coefficient of x squared here is 1. But in case the coefficient of x squared is not 1, maybe it's 2, 3, or 5, you need to divide through with the coefficient of x squared such that we have it in this form. X will not have any coefficient rather than 1, then every other one can have any values. So after dividing through by a, which in this case we are not dividing through because the coefficient of x squared is already 1. So we move to the step 2. The step 2 is to move the constants to the other side of the equation. We are moving this 5 from here to this point. We are moving 5 from this point to this point. And don't forget that when you move a number crossing the equality sign, then the sign will change. Or you can as well subtract 5 from both sides. The two case is acceptable. So now, after moving the 5 to this side, the 5 was positive before, now it's negative 5. So we have x squared plus 6x equals to minus 5. That's the second procedure. Now, the third procedure is where the magic usually occur, and it's not actually a magic. What we are doing there is that we want to make this side, x squared plus 6x a perfect square. Once we are able to make this side a perfect square, then the equation is solved. Now, to make that side a perfect square, we are going to take the coefficient of x squared. In this case, what's the coefficient of x squared? 6. You now divide the coefficient of x squared by 2. After dividing it by 2, you now square it, meaning that 6 divided by 2, then you square it. You can see in the standard equation, our 6 is representing b. So it means b over 2 square is what we need. And in this case, our b is 6 divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 square give us 9. So we are going to add that 9 to both sides of the equation. As you all know that anything that you do to this side must be done to the other side because of this equation. So we add 9 to both sides. After adding 9 to both sides, this one will give us minus 5 plus 9 give us 4. Then we have x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now, we need to bring out the factor of the perfect square. So after this, we move to the fourth stage, which is factor as perfect square. Because as we have added square of half of the coefficient of x to both sides, it has made this left hand side to be a perfect square. So how do you now choose the value of your perfect square? You pick the x square, then the perfect square that you add to both sides, which is 9 together. Here we have x square, we have x square here, we have 9 here. So you pick x square and 9. And be careful, whenever you want to pick this 9, you must pick it with the sign. Because in the question that we have, this one, the coefficient of 6, the coefficient of x is a positive number. Assuming the coefficient of x is a negative number, then you are going to have a negative 9 here. So, and anytime you are dealing with this 9, you must treat it with the negative sign. But in this case, we have a positive sign. So, pick the s and the 9 with the sign. So, in this case, we have x, and don't forget how we get this 9. We get the 9 by dividing 6 by 2. So 6 divided by 2 give us 3. Then we now square it. That's why we have 9. So it is that 3 that is inside the bracket that we are going to pick. This 3. Let me write it out. We have x squared plus 6x, then plus the bracket that we have 3 square. Don't forget that we divide the coefficient of x to get 3. Then the square of 3 give us 9. So to factor out the perfect square, you pick this x and the one inside the bracket, which is 3. That's why we have x plus 3 square equals to 4. Now, once you are done with that, we are almost through with the equation. We move to the next stage, which is the taking the square root of both sides. And when you are taking square root of both sides, you know the square root of any number, you must consider the positive and the negative parts of that number. So now, squaring both sides. By finding the square root of both sides, we are going to remove the square here. So, square root of both sides. This square root, we cancel the square here. So, what remains here is square root of 4. So, but we have plus or minus here because the value of square root of 4 are two numbers. Why do we have that? When you have minus 2 square and you have plus 2 square, minus 2 square will give us what? It will give us 4. That's plus 4. Then plus 2 square too, it will give us plus 4. Now, if you want to find the square root of 4 now, we cannot confidently say it is plus 2 because minus 2 square and plus 2 square give us plus 4. So that's why our square roots have two values, both negative and positive values. So let's move on. So once the square root cancel the square, we have x plus 3 equals to plus or minus square root of 4. So x is equal to x plus 3 equals to the square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. Now, to get our final answer, we subtract minus 3 from both sides, or probably just carry this plus 3 to this side. When you carry plus 3 to this side, you know the 3 is having a positive sign. So it will change to a negative sign. So we are going to have something like this. X plus 3 equals to plus x plus 3 equals to plus 2. So when you move this x to this side, when you move this x to this side, you are going to have plus 2 minus 3. And what is plus 2 minus 3? Plus 2 minus 3 will give us minus 1. When this plus 3 moves to this side, it becomes minus 3. So plus 2 minus 3 give us minus 1. Then you do the same thing to the second value. Minus 3. When you move this 3 to this side too, you still have minus 3. So minus 2 minus 3 give us minus 5. And that's the two values of x that we are looking for. So our final answer now is what? X equals to minus 1 or x equals to minus 5. I believe that it is more explicit as I've explained. So now, let's go to the summary of the lesson. The summary of the lesson is that whenever you are given a question on quadratic equation and you are asked to use completing the square method, you first look out for the coefficient of s square. So after that, make sure you rearrange the equation in this form. This form, that's the general form. So once you arrange in general form, the next thing is to divide through by the coefficient of a. When you divide through by the coefficient of a, then s square will stand alone. S square will stand alone. Then others will have the denominator. After that, you now find the half, square of half of the coefficient of x. So once you get the square of half of the coefficient of x, you add it to both sides. Then you get your final solution. So write it in standard form. After writing in standard form, move the constants to the other side. After moving the constant to the other side, then add the half of coefficient of x square to both sides. After adding the half of the coefficient of x to both sides, then you factor out the perfect square by picking the x and the half of the coefficient of x that you added. After that, you find the square root of both sides and boom, you have your final answer. It's very simple as ABC. So I believe you enjoyed the class. So follow me for more at Additional Kazim Tunde on Facebook and on YouTube, Maths with Faik on YouTube. Then on TikTok, KZ Media 24/7. On YouTube, Maths with Faik. On Facebook, at Additional Kazim Tunde. Please follow, like, and share for your friends that are interested in mathematics. And those one that doesn't have much interest, maybe they can develop interest while watching the video. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye for now. Peace out.